Hey everyone, my name is Wedge, and while Standard is shaping up to be a format pseudo-dominated by Jeskai Dark / Black / Midnight / Twilight / whatever you want to call it, it doesn't mean other decks don't exist. Especially other awesome decks that are based on the retreat cycle. Yeah, that one, the one from Battle for Zendikar. I know, I'm excited too. Hope you enjoy this crazy Standard deck tech, and if you do, make sure to hit that like button. Helps out a lot. We'll worry about the lands later. Let's get right into this ridiculousness. The deck is designed as a control-ish deck taking advantage of the newly returned landfall mechanic in a big way. The deck runs playsets of Retreat to Emeria, Retreat to Hagra, and Retreat to Kazandu. Playsets of each of them. I know, insane. Anyways, Retreat to Emeria lets you create tokens or buff all your creatures. Hagra gives a power buff and death touch to a creature, or drains each opponent for 1 life and you gain 1 life. Kazandu lets you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, or you gain 2 life. There's so many different synergies here, it's hilarious. Let's say you have multiple enchantments in play. You trigger Landfall, Emeria makes a token, Kazandu gives it a counter, Hagra drains. Next turn, Emeria can either create more tokens or buff all your creatures, Hagra can give more power to your newly created attacker, and Kazandu can again give it another counter. Imagine Landfall more than once in a turn. Yeah, all the triggers. Let's get through the rest of the deck before freaking out though. The creature base is pretty standard for what you'd expect from this kind of deck. The best creature is probably Herald of the Pantheon, and that's why we're running a playset. No real reason not to. It makes our retreats cheaper, we gain life on each enchantment cast, it's a great card, especially for a deck like this that's a bit slow to get going. That life and cheaper cost will help us keep up with more aggressive strategies. Next up are 3 Den Protectors. They can get back a Herald, another spell we'll talk about in a bit, or a retreat in case our opponent has some crazy enchantment removal, or basically Dramoka's command. It also synergizes really well with our retreat abilities. With Hagra and Kazandu buffing it up, most creatures won't be able to block the Protector for long. This is basically unblockable after 2 landfall triggers with a couple retreats in play. That's cool. 2 Nissa Vastwood Seer give us more landfall triggers and provide a solid target for removal. Players love removing the Origins Walkers before they flip. It's like their favorite thing to do. Best part? We don't really need Nissa to flip. She gives us an extra landfall trigger. We'll take it. Granted, her +1 is really nice, but we've got plenty of ways to trigger landfall. This is just another one, not a cornerstone or anything. The last creature in the deck? Yeah, Oblivion Sower. I know, this dude's a boss. 6 mana for a giant butt that will almost certainly exile lands. I don't know how many, but going 4 cards deep in a meta running 4 to 5 colored decks, yeah, you'll probably hit lands and trigger so much landfall. Even if you don't, at least you have a giant beater and you exiled a bunch of gas. Best part, when you exile an on-color fetch land, oh, the joy, it's beautiful, a work of art. Sower is great, and it takes all of my self-control to only run 3 of these instead of 4. The rest of the non-land cards, 3 Abzan Charm and 1 Utter End. These are our just-in-case spells. Abzan Charm is, well, one of the best cards in Standard right now, so you should all know why. Removal or card advantage can also be brought back with Den Protector, we'll take it. Utter End is our Planeswalker removal if our unblockable Den Protector can't get it done, it's simple enough. Now you may have noticed less non-land cards than normal. That's because, well, this is a landfall deck. We need to drop lands every turn, so we're running 32 lands. I know it sounds like a lot, but calm down. It really isn't. If you get 2 landfall triggers off of one of your retreats, you're basically looking at an extra card. Let's go over the lands quickly. Playsets of Windswept Heath and Wooded Foothills are necessary. We're also running 4 Shambling Vent and 4 Canopy Vista. Next up are 2 Smoldering Marsh and 3 of the Rookie of the Year card Blighted Woodland. Imagine playing this and sacking it in 1 turn, 3 landfall triggers, so dirty. The rest of the land base is made up of 5 forests, 5 swamps, and 1 plains, 32 lands in total. Again, I know this is a lot of land, but trust me, you'll be fine. You want land. Lands are basically spells in this deck with at least 1 retreat out there, especially if it's Emeria. The deck is slow to start, and that is definitely a problem, but if you can get an early Herald out there or use removal to stem the bleeding until you get a retreat or 2 online, you should be able to stabilize against most anything. Kazandu gives you life gain in addition to the Herald. Nissa is a fine chump blocker, and more often than not, Shambling Vent will keep you in a game. That's why we're running a playset. Lifelink on the land is funny, and very good, but still very funny. That's how the deck works though. You try to just survive early, prioritize getting your retreats in play, then tempo your opponent out. You're okay with the late game most of the time anyways. So much value from your retreats, card advantage will be in your favor a lot of the time. Just remember to play your retreats in the right order and before you drop lands. Emeria should always drop first, always. You want those tokens in play ASAP, it's very important. Most of the time you'll use Emeria for tokens and Hagra for the life drain. Kazandu is the only one you really split 50-50 on. Don't get me wrong, Emeria's Anthem ability and Hagra's Pump ability are both great, but most of the time, especially early, you want those creatures and life gain. Seriously, think about it though. What if you trigger landfall twice with each one of these retreats in play? Drop a fetch land, create a guy, give it +1/+1, and drain your opponent, crack the fetch, another guy, make that one a 2/2, and another life drain. What if you have a bunch of tokens already in play? Fetch land, sack it, double Anthem from the Emeria. There's just so much you can do with this deck. Tell me this isn't awesome. Alright, sideboard time. It's no secret that this deck is slow as crap, languished for days. At least 2 of them against aggressive strategies. You need them. Ultimate Price helps deal with the new $1 million baby along with any other Origin Walkers. Surge of Righteousness is probably great in your deck. You could use the life gain, and most aggressive decks will be using red or black. Even if they aren't super aggressive, Surge does a great job of killing Nantuko Husk, just saying. Against control strategies, things might get grindy. Force them to use their board wipes on your tokens. Chances are they won't have any other option. Hold back a fetch land if you can to trigger retreat to Emeria if they're running red and side into Boiling Earth or something similar. Just a good way to protect your creatures from getting blown out. Also, wouldn't it be wrong to board into Obnixilis, I think. The card draw will help you and it'll force them to play their Planeswalker removal, which otherwise you don't really care about all that much. Last big sideboard piece, yep, Siege Rhino. Real hard not to play this guy main deck, but you have a great plan. He deserves to be on board though. He'll come in against anything trying to threaten the board earlier, even in the middle of the game. This giant monster just does it all. You'll probably bring him in a lot for Nissas and maybe a Den Protector. I wish that weren't true, but it is Siege Rhino for days. And we're finally at the end. Well, did I disappoint? You gotta admit, it's sweet, right? I mean, come on. Super fun to play. You should really give it a shot. Granted, it's expensive, like everything else in Standard. It isn't $500. It might be $300. At TCG player low pricing, less than that. You could remove Nissa and the Den Protector and actually save a bunch, so there's wiggle room here. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this deck. Do you like it? Do you think it can hold its own against popular strategies? Any changes you'd make? Put them below. Let's talk about it. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Wow.